Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're taking a journey that might just flip everything you think you know about wealth, about success, even what a millionaire actually looks like.
Right.
Our mission is to really distill the surprising kind of data-backed truth behind how regular people build lasting wealth. We're pulling from the classic, The Millionaire Next Door.
Stanley and Danko, a foundational piece.
Exactly. So think of this as your shortcut to some timeless financial wisdom. We're going to bust some big myths today.
And that first myth is huge, isn't it? The book just demolishes this idea that, wealthy people are all living in mansions, driving flashy cars, wearing designer gear.
Right. Stereotype.
Totally. But the research, the actual data, it shows the opposite. Most are self-made. And they got there through, quiet discipline, saving, budgeting, investing, not showing off.
So it's the invisible stuff, the habits, not like the fancy watch or the big house.
Precisely. It's not about how much you earn, which is what everyone focuses on.
Yeah.
It's the habits, the behavior. That's the real differentiator. And it goes against, pretty much everything society screams at us.
It really does. It's kind of refreshing, actually. These behaviors aren't glamorous, so maybe they get overlooked.
I think that's exactly it. They aren't aspirational in that Instagram kind of way.
Okay, so let's unpack this secret.
Yeah.
The Millionaire Next Door. It came out back in 1996, right?
Yeah, mid-90s. But the research behind it spanned, over 20 years?
That's right. And they didn't just, speculate. They actually studied thousands of real millionaires, interviewed them, surveyed them, really got into the details of their finances.
They did the work.
Yeah.
And the core finding was, simple but profound. Real wealth isn't about luxury. It's built quietly, through discipline, often pretty mundane discipline, actually.
Mundane, yeah.
Yeah.
Not exciting, maybe, which leads back to those surprising truths we mentioned.
Exactly. They aren't living in Beverly Hills, necessarily. They're not leasing a new Porsche every 2 years. They're not covered in Gucci logos. And the vast majority, self-made, built it themselves. No silver spoon, for the most part.
And the strategy wasn't some complex financial engineering.
Not usually, no. It was prioritizing saving, sticking to a budget, really sticking to it and consistently investing. They just weren't focused on impressing other people.
It's like a hidden world of quiet accumulators. Okay, so what does this mean for you listening right now? How does this apply?
Yeah, let's get practical. The book gives us some really helpful concepts. And the first one is a way to kind of see where you stand. They talk about PAWs and UAWs. Prodigious accumulators of wealth versus underaccumulators.
PAW and UAW. Okay, break that down.
Sure. A PAW, a prodigious accumulator of wealth, is someone whose net worth is way higher than you'd expect for their age and income. They're really good at converting income into wealth.
Right.
Then there's the UAW, the underaccumulator. And here's the kicker. These folks often earn a lot of money, high incomes. But they spend it. So their actual net worth is surprisingly low for what they earn. They're not building wealth effectively.
And the authors had a way to estimate this, right? A formula.
Yeah, it's a simple rule of thumb. Your expected net worth should be roughly your age times your pre-tax annual income divided by 10.
Age times income divided by 10.
Right. And if your actual net worth is significantly above that number, you're trending towards being a PAW. If it's below, maybe you're leaning UAW. It's just a guideline, of course, but insightful.
That formula alone really drives home that other key point. Income is not the same as wealth.
Absolutely critical. We all see it, right? People making 6 figures, even 7, who seem broke or stressed about money.
Yeah, living paycheck to paycheck, just at a higher level.
Exactly. It sounds obvious, but it's amazing how many high earners fall into that trap. They don't focus on the right metric.
So what's the mindset shift? What do the millionaires in the book do differently to avoid that?
They obsess over net worth, not salary, not job title, not status symbols. Net worth, they understand. Income is flow, wealth is stock. You got to accumulate it. Like the book says, wealth is what you accumulate, not what you spend. Every dollar earned is seen as a seed for future wealth, not just permission to buy more stuff.
They're keeping score differently.
Totally. They track their net worth, they know where they stand, and that helps them make, more disciplined choices day to day.
And a huge part of those choices is something maybe not so popular today. Frugality.
Oh, yeah. The book makes it clear, for most of these millionaires, being frugal isn't just a phase. It's a core part of their lifestyle, non-negotiable.
Which is wild, considering how much we're pushed to consume and upgrade constantly.
It really is. But the research showed it again and again. Most buy used cars, not new. They avoid consumer debt like the plague, especially for stuff that drops in value.
Like cars.
Exactly. And budgets. They live by them, often for decades, not just, a New Year's resolution.
It's a long-term commitment.
Absolutely. The philosophy is simple. Invest that money. Don't waste it on depreciating assets. That's why they had that great line, you aren't what you drive.
You aren't what you drive. I like that. It cuts through so much noise.
It does. It's about being smart, not flashy.
Okay, this next idea is really interesting, especially for parents. They called it economic outpatient care. What's that about?
Yeah, that term catches your attention, doesn't it? It's maybe a bit controversial for some.
How so?
Well, they found a pattern. Parents who give a lot of financial help via economic outpatient care to their adult children often unintentionally hurt their kids' ability to build wealth themselves.
Really? How does that work?
It can create dependency. It sort of prevents the kids from developing their own financial discipline, their own frugality muscles,
Mm-hmm.
If money just keeps appearing, why learn to budget or save hard?
I see. So the parents mean well, but
it can backfire long term. The millionaires they studied, they were more likely to focus on teaching independence, responsibility, the value of a dollar earned, rather than just handing out cash.
that definitely challenges some common ideas about family support. But it makes sense from a behavioral standpoint.
It does. It's about fostering self-sufficiency.
And speaking of self-sufficiency, another big factor they found was self-employment.
Oh, huge. A really significant percentage of the millionaires in their studies were entrepreneurs, small business owners, or professionals with their own practices, like doctors or lawyers.
Why was that so important?
Control, mainly. They had more direct control over their income. Working harder could directly translate to earning more, and also over their expenses. They could reinvest in the business, manage costs effectively.
Less bureaucracy, maybe. More direct cause and effect.
Exactly. That direct control over their own economic engines seemed to be a major advantage in accumulating wealth faster and more efficiently. It wasn't just potentially higher earnings, it was the whole financial structure.
Which ties back to that overarching theme, doesn't it? They just live below their means. It's like that saying, big hat, no cattle, but in reverse.
Yeah, they've got the cattle, but they don't need the big flashy hat.
They don't look rich, necessarily.
Not in the way we often picture it, not like celebrities or those Instagram types showing off private jets. The millionaires in the book, they often blend right in. Middle-class neighborhoods, regular cars.
Because their focus isn't on looking rich.
It's on being financially secure, accumulation over ostentation. They aren't trying to impress the neighbors. They're busy building real, lasting wealth, often very quietly. They could be your actual neighbor,
Okay, so these insights are powerful, clearly. But the book is from the 90s, based on even earlier data. Why does it still resonate so much today? And, are there weaknesses we should consider?
Great questions. The strengths are pretty compelling. First, it's built on real research, hard data, not just theories or feel-good advice. That gives it weight.
Right, evidence-based.
Second, the core principles. Frugality, discipline, planning, living below your means. They're timeless. Those things work regardless of the decade. Like they said, discipline, sacrifice, and hard work are key. It also does a fantastic job, maybe better than almost any other book, of just shattering those common stereotypes about who is wealthy and how they got there.
Makes it feel more achievable, maybe.
Definitely. And it's easy to read, it's relatable, it really encourages that idea of financial independence over just chasing a bigger lifestyle.
It sounds incredibly solid, foundational. But nothing's perfect. What are the criticisms or limitations?
Fair point. A big one, and it's valid, is the demographic focus of the original research. It was largely white, male, American millionaires.
Okay, so maybe not fully representative.
Exactly. While the principles might be broadly applicable, the specific experiences might not reflect everyone's journey, especially across different cultures or for women or minorities facing different systemic factors.
That's important context. What else?
Well, naturally, some of the specific examples like dollar amounts or types of businesses can feel a bit dated, given the research was mainly 80s and 90s. The world has changed, technology has changed things.
Sure. Digital economy? Different investment options now.
Right. Also, compared to some newer finance books, it's less of a practical how-to guide. It tells you what the millionaires did, their mindset and habits, but maybe less on the step-by-step implementation.
More descriptive than prescriptive in places.
Sort of, yeah. And finally, some people find it a bit repetitive. The authors really hammer home the key points, sometimes retelling similar anecdotes across chapters.
Okay, understandable. Reinforcing the message. but maybe it could be tighter for some readers.
Could be, yeah.
So taking all that into account, the strengths, the weaknesses, who really gets the most out of this deep dive or reading the book itself?
I'd say this is really powerful for anyone serious about long-term wealth building. Not get rich quick, but sustainable wealth.
Okay.
It's especially good if you feel like you earn a decent income, but you're kind of stuck financially. Like, where's the money going?
The UAWs, or potential UAWs.
Exactly. And given the findings, it's super relevant for entrepreneurs, freelancers, anyone self-employed or thinking about it. And definitely parents. Parents wanting to raise kids who are financially capable and independent, not reliant. That economic outpatient care idea is worth pondering.
Yeah, for sure. And if you're interested in just like the psychology of money, behavioral finance.
It's foundational. Absolutely. It sits right alongside those other great books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, or The Psychology of Money. It tackles the behavior behind wealth.
Our source gave it a solid 9 out of 10, calling it a no-nonsense, fact-based guide. I like this quote. It's not flashy, it's not clickbait, but it's real, practical, and proven.
That sums it up perfectly, I think. It strips away the hype and shows you the often, frankly, boring reality of building wealth.
Boring but effective.
The most effective way, often.
Okay, so here's something to leave you with, a final thought. If the actual millionaire next door isn't driving the fanciest car or living in the biggest house, what does that really tell us about our own ideas of success? Of financial freedom? Maybe even happiness?
Good question.
Like, think about how much energy, time, and maybe money you spend trying to look wealthy versus the energy it takes to actually become wealthy. This deep dive hopefully makes you question not just, your spending, but maybe the deeper beliefs you hold about money, status, and what wealth truly means.